cargo. And it doesn't look like a boat that is screaming money. So I don't know why. I mean, unless somebody had insider info and there was something hidden in that hold that we didn't know about. It turns out there was a ton of gold in there.
Well, no, if the pirates wanted it, they probably wanted it for some other purpose besides the contents of it. They probably wanted it to, transport something, for example.
It also kind of looked like the kind of ship that they could get away with just taking. It's not, it's not a high dollar liner where the people who own it are going to come after it. Maybe what was on the ship was worthwhile. Maybe what was on the ship wasn't as worthwhile, but having a new ship might have been worthwhile.
And
that nobody
it's such
would
a rust bucket that it just flies under the radar.
Yeah, that nobody's really going to pay attention to. You slap a new coat of paint on it and away you go. Maybe it's that it was easier to get. I mean, maybe it was less staffed. Maybe it was less defensible. Maybe.
Yeah, certainly a ship like this is not going to be able to afford to hire a team of Blackwater operatives to stand on deck with machine guns to repel boarders.
And it really did not look like the sort of thing that anybody would have missed.
Yeah,
very true.
Yeah.
If that white girl hadn't been on that ship, we probably would have never heard about it.
Oh, we never would have heard about it. No, absolutely not. Yeah.
Nobody would have even looked for it, probably.
Yeah, no. And it wasn't just that she was white. Also, it's because her family and her boyfriend made a stink, too.
Right.
That made a difference, too. But ships do disappear all the time, whether it's natural causes or piracy. It could have been taken on the high seas. They could have just boarded the ship at the dock, which happens a lot, too.
Yeah.
Piracy is not just all...
Well, but if I remember correctly, it's not as if it left the dock on its own. It had to be pulled by a tug.
It was taken by a tug. But, I mean, there's no reason you can't, board the ship. Just say, hey, nice ship, can I have a look around? And then you pull out your revolver and say, hey.
Okay, all right, we'll keep running with it.
Right. Yeah, sorry for the cheesy foreign accent there. And that would account for the Freedon being seen elsewhere, even after it had been presumed lost, because it didn't,
Because its new owners were tooling around in it and having a pleasure cruise.
Yeah, they still hadn't gotten around to abandoning it, scuttling it, whatever they finally did with it. I assume with something like that, especially when the word got out that it was being looked for, you might think it's time to find yourself a new ride.
Or you might...
Or paint a new name on the bow of your boat.
Or you might just go further south.
Oh, yeah, you could do that, too. You could just head on down to South America or something.
Or cross the pond.
Or cross the pond. I
don't think this boat would have made it.
Fair enough.
It probably would have made it. Human beings have been crossing bigger distances on crappier crafts for a long time, but I don't think I would want to chance it.
Yeah, I don't really think this thing would make it, so let's keep moving.
Yeah. Well, now another possibility is just a more natural one, which is that just natural causes it sank. Like there was a storm, for example. There's also the possibility that, maybe it wasn't even, although if it sprang a leak, it sounds like it probably would have taken a little bit longer to sink than, say, if it had been a storm.
Yeah, because that was the other thing, right, is there was never ever a distress call or anything like that.
There was no distress call, but you never know. I mean, it might be that the radio wasn't working. I mean, obviously, this is not the best maintained.
Well, it also could be a situation where the leak snuck up on them. If the hold is full of junk, nobody's probably heading down there. Yeah. Remember I told you when I was on that trip, my last trip, and we were on a boat, and I couldn't figure out why we kept getting slower and slower on the way home, and then I looked down and I realized the hold was completely full of water because the ding-dong had never turned the bilge pump on.
That does happen.
And so it'll be fine, and then you're slowing down, and overnight you don't really notice, and then next thing you know, the deck is at the same level as the ocean around it.
I've actually been in a boat or two where that situation has occurred also.
Yes.
But we never got that far.
Well, and the one thing I will mention is having been in some of those exact same waters at that time of year, it is not a nice time to be on the sea. It is the time where it can get, it isn't always, but it can get really rough.
And I imagine it's very changeable very quickly.
Yeah. And, there will be times where you're just like, well, I'm not going out on the deck today because that wave just crashed right over the promenade deck. Okay.
Yeah.
Cool. Yeah. Guess we're staying at sea today.
Yeah.
I mean, it can be. And if you've got cargo that maybe wasn't secured properly, or if it was top heavy, like Steve was saying.
And overloaded.
If it was crappy.
Whole host of reasons.
You get one good...
rogue wave.
Yeah.
Or even just big wave. Not even rogue wave, just big wave.
Or just a quick little back and forth. 2 or 3 of those will just have you right over pretty quick.
Yeah, your cargo ships and stuff. But yeah, I know that one of the statements the Coast Guard made was relating to the weather and just how the weather is changeable out there. So they seem to have no trouble at all, the Coast Guard, that is, accepting the idea that the boat just sank.
Right.
But on the other hand, then we got Bob Nyberg saying he saw the ship in Georgetown Harbor just a couple of weeks later.
But he came forward months later.
Yeah,
so it's
April.
entirely possible that he may have seen this ship, but he's got the dates wrong in his head.
Yeah, that's possible. I don't know. See, I don't know exactly, for example, when he was in Georgetown Harbor. I mean, maybe he was working there as an underwater salvage diver.
Right.
And so it may be that he was contracted to do a job in the first 2 or 3 weeks of January 1989.
A specific date range.
And so maybe that's how he knew that he'd seen it after it was supposedly lost. Maybe, I don't know.
Well, either
or it could be, like you say, misremembering. I don't know.
Well, either way, the place that he says he saw the ship was 500 miles away from where that ship should have been.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Yeah.
Right. So that's a mystery on top of that. Even if it did sink.
Yeah.
And he had the dates wrong. Why was it 500 miles away from where it should have been?
Well, it was a tramp freighter, so it's entirely possible. Say they picked up a cargo in Haiti that was to be transported to the Cayman Islands.
Yeah.
And so it's not. But again, it does sort of like put a crimp in the whole "it sank" theory, sank in the storm theory.
I would agree with that.
Yeah. So damn him. Yeah, I know. But on the other hand, maybe Florian Meyer-Borsch learned that people were searching for Lisa and decided to move a ship in his business set to South America. I don't know, and that's why the ship was never seen again. I don't know. Well, let's go on to our next theory. We'll try to make this all coherent by the end, because I know it's getting complicated here, right?
Yeah.
Not really.
Yeah, not really. Okay.
No, not really.
Well, let's move on to our next possible theory here, which is that Lisa and Florian fell in love and they decided to run off and start a new life together. Yeah.
Okay.
Totally disregarding the 7 other crew people, but
Yeah. Sorry guys, we're in love and we're gonna need to kill you.
We're securing our relationship by murdering 7 innocent people. It
But-
brings us together.
I don't feel that bad about it because, frankly, I don't even know your names.
no.
Yeah, you're extras in our little drama. Yeah.
Well,
That would be pretty awful.
yeah.
Yeah, it would be, but still, I find this one hard to believe. I mean, this one has actually been suggested by other people, not just me, so that's why I'm bringing it up. And
It also seems like you don't let your family think you're dead.
no, you don't let your family suffer like that.
Yeah.
Of course, maybe she was embarrassed, because she had told her boyfriend, like, oh, nothing's gonna happen, everything's gonna be fine, and then
She didn't have to contact her boyfriend.
Yeah.
That's a good point. She could have just said to the parents, "Hey,
Could have just sent
tell
them
Paul it's over," and or
Call
send
them
an
from
email.
Dear
Haiti.
John letter, yeah.
call him from Haiti and say, hey, just wanted to let you know that I actually ran off.
Yeah,
I'm never coming back, but I love you guys.
Because you've got a horrible mustache and terrible hair, and I just can't take it anymore.
I can't handle that mullet or whatever it is.
It was a mullet.
Yeah, it was. Yeah.
I'm telling you, just call the parents, man. Write them a letter.
Yeah.
For God's sake.
Yeah.
Something.
Well, yeah. So I'm not buying that theory at all. So let's cross that one off the list.
Okay.
All right. Okay. Our next theory. This is a little more nasty. What if the captain and crew of the Freedon, say, raped and murdered Lisa and then just threw her to the sharks?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Isn't that very similar to the guy with the sub recently and the reporter that disappeared?
Yeah.
Didn't he chuck her overboard after they suspect some sexual encounter went wrong?
Yeah,
and I can't think of their names.
I can't either. But yeah, he was the mad inventor, genius guy, and
I love when they're mad and genius all at the same time. But yes, so it's a similar situation.
Yeah, and he kept changing his story, and then he had to carve her body up into a couple of pieces and throw it to the sharks, and stuff like that.
So maybe this was a precursor to that, is what we're saying here.
Well, but anyway, this theory is actually a more believable theory than Lisa arrives in Haiti safe and sound. Believe it or not,
but it still doesn't explain the 7 crew members.
No, that's it. If they had done that, well, maybe after they murdered her, they murdered each other and threw each other overboard. I don't know. No,
okay.
This does not.
Did.
This doesn't really account for the missing crewman. It actually does not.
This holds as much water as that boat did.
Haha.
Yeah. Okay.
Wait, opposite.
Maybe not.
Yeah.
Wait.
Yeah.
You don't want your boat to hold water.
That's the problem. It's holding water.
Actually, you do want your boat to hold water. You want your boat to hold water out. Yeah.
It was holding it in.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Anyway.
Okay.
Just like me right now. Hurry up. We got to get to the bathroom.
Oh, okay. Yeah. All right. Let's talk real fast then. Okay. Our next theory, Lisa was sold into slavery. Another popular theory on the internet. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah, there's a lot of, I want to say, overuse of the theory of human trafficking.
Yeah.
It certainly happens.
Oh, yeah.
And I think it happens a lot more than anybody wants to admit, but I don't think it happens as much as it's speculated.
Well, the problem is like when it comes to things like, finding women that want to go into that particular trade, there never seems to be a shortage of them. You don't really need to go kidnapping people and buying.
Well, you do.
Buying
I think you do.
Yeah, I was going to say. So be careful treading down that path, Joe, because there are people who go into the trade of being a sex worker willingly,
and wind up being indentured servants,
and there
slaves.
are quite a few who don't.
Yeah.
So be careful.
Well, no, I get what you're saying, but no doubt there is some coercion involved in that trade and everything, but probably not as much as, and definitely when it comes to women like Lisa or Young and Pretty, that whole theory is, what should I say? It really is very titillating to a lot of people.
Yeah, like I said, often overused.
Sells newspapers.
Yeah, it sure does.
Well, it does.
I guess the only way that I could really see that happening is if they were actually smuggling, and they were actually smuggling humans, and that they had already had some sort of set up in place, and maybe this was something that they did a lot, but it still would not explain the missing crew.
Yeah, it wouldn't. Yeah.
Unless the hold was already full of human cargo and they stuffed Lisa down there. And when they got to the port of call, he said, "Hey, as a bonus, I'm throwing in these guys."
Yeah.
I mean, that's the only way
that's a
would make
possibility.
sense.
Honestly, that's true.
Yeah, that's a good point. But then, what happened to him? But yeah, it could be.
He got himself a new crew and went to the Grand Cape.
Well, so that was, I guess, the other thing is it kind of seemed to me, and maybe you guys got a different impression, but it kind of seemed to me that the Haitian crew that he had was his crew for a while.
It sounds like they were not just,
at least for a while. They weren't just one-off contract people, so that would be an extra horrendous thing to do.
It would be kind of heinous.
You knew.
Yeah, well, it's possible. I can see a scenario where they're going to smuggle all these people, and then here comes Lisa saying, "Oh, hey, I'd so love to go along to Haiti. I just so want to go to Haiti." And he's like, "Oh, this is cool. It just dropped into my lap, And so he invites her along and figures, get a few extra bucks. And so they go do their deal. Then he and the crew take off, visit Grand Cayman, and then sink in a storm.
Yeah, except
that's getting complicated.
Yeah, and you would think they'd visit their family when they got to Haiti.
You would think they would have stopped and said hi, yeah.
Well, I mean, isn't it possible that they weren't actually going to Haiti?
That is possible.
Right? Because there's
Absolutely
that possibility.
good point.
I'm sorry, I think I'm treading on an upcoming theory.
It could be, yeah.
But,
we don't know that. We don't know that he could have lied to her.
Yeah, especially if the way that this came about was she said, I'd really love to go to Haiti to write a story about poverty. And he's like, "Oh, I'm going to Haiti."
Exactly.
Perfect.
And he's not going.
How convenient.
Yeah.
And that's actually very true. I've had that thought, although again we had the problem with the crew members' families expecting them to show up and they didn't show up.
I agree with that.
And so that's kind of the whole problem with
Though
that.
if he was a human trafficker or was looking for people to abduct, it would also help explain why he was in Atlanta instead of Miami.
And it could also, so it could actually explain why they all disappeared, because they may have met their buyer and something went wrong and the cargo was transferred and he and his crew were killed because they didn't deliver, or they were jerks about it, or they asked for more money, or they did something that made the bad guys mad.
Yeah, I guess it's fair. They go to hook up with the bad guys with their human cargo, and unbeknownst to them, their engine system sprung a carbon monoxide leak and gassed everybody down in the hull.
What do you mean everybody's dead? You're dead now.
Yeah, no, what do you mean everybody's dead? Well, I guess I'll take all of you instead then.
Yeah.
Well, see, and this is exactly why people trot out this theory all the time of human trafficking or sex slavery or anything like that.
But I think the last
because it's so easy to just be like,
and it's exciting. It's very dramatic and all that stuff.
But I agree. I don't think any of it really satisfactorily explains the missing Haitian.
Nah. So yeah. Well, okay. So much for the sold into slavery theory. All right, let's work on our next theory here, which is that maybe Lisa Bishop made it to Haiti, but she met a bad end in an unrelated incident.
Yeah.
Right? She meets a serial killer.
Well, I mean, it's not as if even today it's not a rough and tumble. It was not a rough and tumble place. I mean, accidents happen. It's not a overly.
Also, it doesn't really sound like she planned this trip out very well, you know?
Maybe not.
She kind of just was like, I don't know, I've had a pretty easy life. Let's go see what not easy life is like. And,
Yeah, that could be
packed a
it.
backpack with her little clipboard and went down there and was like, I'm going to write about poor people.
Yeah.
We're
Where's
gonna
the
walk up to
Nordstrom's at?
the first poor person she sees who maybe is like, a really horrible serial killer or something and says, hi, I'm from America. I'm writing a story on impoverished people. Would you talk to me? And the person goes, yeah, I actually have a place where we can do the interview. And she goes, okay, that sounds great.
What I really, really wish everybody who's listening right now could have seen was Devin holding out her script like it was a clipboard with an imaginary pen in front of it, writing out as she was talking.
I know.
Can I ask you some questions?
I know.
I mean, I don't mean to paint her as like a...
No, a bubblehead.
Yeah, or
no,
anything
I don't,
like that, but...
From everything I've heard, actually, she was a smart girl. But
Yeah,
I could say,
but she put herself in maybe not the best situation by just getting on that ship, and so
yeah, I think so. Her
she
judgment could have been a little better.
could have made a bad decision. She
Yeah.
it could have been totally fine. We could be besmirching the captain. What's his name? Fabian.
Florian Meyer
Fabian.
Yeah, I mean, Florian has attracted a lot of suspicion for
Yeah,
obvious
we could
reasons.
be totally besmirching him. He could have.
He could totally be innocent of everything.
Taken her down there. She walked off the ship, and on her way to the payphone,
and did something
happened.
stupid, or just maybe she did everything right and crossed paths with the wrong person.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, there's that too.
Yeah.
You know,
but
then again, there's still a problem with that, which is, of course, the crew members in the ship didn't show up either in Haiti.
That's the big problem in just about every theory that we've talked about.
That's the problem. And
Yeah,
so these all these theories that have been put forth by people other than me, really, pretty much. So what really happened? Well, of course, as Devin mentioned, do we really know that the ship was headed to Haiti to begin with?
well, as
Probably.
you said,
There's
the crew.
Yeah. Do we really know? Do we really know, for that matter, that Lisa actually got on board the ship?
No.
We don't know that actually 100% for sure, because nobody. I don't think her family and boyfriend actually went down to Miami to see them off at the docks.
I suspect not.
You
She
know.
did say that there is the whole she called.
She called the morning of her departure. Yeah.
Right, but
Yeah.
did she call from the dock?
I don't think so. I mean,
Okay.
I mean, I don't know. She could have called from like a payphone down at the docks.
That's what I was wondering about, is if it was just from her apartment or a hotel room, or if it was from the dock before she got on board. It's never clear to me. That's why I'm asking this question.
No, we don't know.
Okay.
That is a good question. But she did call sometime, and of course, I've actually heard too that they actually didn't actually leave the dock until like 2 p.m. that day. So between the phone call and actually leaving the dock, there was plenty of time for Lisa to not get on that boat
Wander off.
and wander off and get run over, or maybe meet a serial killer over here in Miami. Dexter.
Fall into the mouth of an alligator.
Yeah, there's a lot of them there. Yeah, and so we don't really know. But I assume she did get on the ship. All I am saying is we can't assume 100% here.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah.
There's other unanswered questions too. We've talked about that. What the hell was Florian doing hanging out in Atlanta anyway?
Yeah.
If his freighter was docked in Miami. As far as Lisa goes, did she meet a bad end? Absolutely.
Yeah.
But I have no doubt about it.
Yeah.
Whether it was drowning or kidnapping or
Anything
murder.
in between that.
But whatever happened to her, unfortunately, it was not good, because I'm not buying the whole she ran off with Florian, or she just decided to disappear and start a new life on Haiti, living with the peasantry on Haiti. I don't think that happened.
I don't think so either.
So, I think that, she met a bad end.
I
We
think
just don't
those
know
7
precisely what it
Haitians
is.
whose names we don't know, and
They probably
Florian
did too.
probably all
And
did
probably-
too.
Yeah, they probably all did. I think, unfortunately, the ship sank. The whole thing that happened with Grant Cayman and what's his name, Bob Nyberg, there's all sorts of possibilities there. Like you guys said, he might have just been mistaken about the dates that he saw the ship. Could have been another ship named the Freedom.
I was gonna say it's kind of a weird name,
Yeah,
right? But what's not to say that?
it made a really good point about this, and that is that if the ship was from Haiti, when this took place, this is not long after Baby Doc Duvalier, his regime fell. And I don't know if you remember Papa Doc and Baby Doc, who were
roughly
some nasty little dictators who ruled Haiti for a long, long time. And they were pretty tyrannical. And so when Baby Doc finally got tossed out, it was a happy moment. And this guy made the point that, it's not inconceivable that a lot of people decided to paint the word freedom on the sides of their ships, their cars, or whatever.